Hello friends. Today I will tell you a story called The Golden Bird. There was once a king who had a garden. In that garden stood an apple tree, and on that tree there grew, each year, a golden apple. But when the time came to pick it, it was gone. Nobody knew who had taken it nor what had become of it, but gone it was. This king had 3 sons. So one day he told them that the one who could recover the apple or catch the thief should inherit the kingdom after him, no matter whether he was the eldest, the youngest, or the middle one. The eldest brother set out first, and sat down under the tree to wait for the thief. As night was drawing near, a golden bird came flying, and it shone from afar. But, when the king's son saw the bird and the light, he became so frightened that he dared not stay but ran home as fast as his legs would carry him. In the morning the apple had disappeared. But now the king's son had regained his courage, and so he started fitting himself out, for he wanted to go away to look for the golden bird. The king equipped him well and spared neither clothes nor money. When the king's son had traveled a while he became hungry, and, taking up his knapsack, he sat down by the roadside and started to eat. Just then a fox came out from a grove of fir trees and sat down and looked at him. "Pray give me a little food," said the fox. "I will give you some burnt corn," said the king's son. "I will need all the food for myself, as nobody knows how far or how long I shall have to travel." "Well, that was that," said the fox, and then he went back to the woods again. When the prince had eaten and rested, he continued on his way. After a while he came to a big city, and in that city was an inn where there was always great merriment and never sorrow. "This must be a fine place to stay," thought the prince to himself, so he remained there. And there was so much dancing and drinking, and pleasure and fun, that he forgot all about the golden bird, and the feather, and his father and the journey, and the whole kingdom. Gone he was and gone he stayed. The next year the middle son was to try to catch the apple thief in the garden. Well, he sat under the tree too, when the apple was almost ripe. And all at once the golden bird came one night, shining like a sun, but the boy became so frightened that he took to his heels and ran home as fast as he could. The following morning the apple was gone, but by now the king's son had regained his courage, and wanted to set out to see if he could find the bird. So he started fitting himself out, and the king equipped him well, and spared neither clothes nor money. But the same thing happened to him as to his elder brother. When he had traveled a while he became hungry, and, taking up his knapsack, he sat down to have lunch by the side of the road. Then a fox came out from a grove of fir trees and sat down to watch. "Pray give me a little food," said the fox. "I will give you burnt corn, I will," said the king's son. "Nobody knows how far or how long I shall have to travel, so I need all the food for myself." "Well, that was that," said the fox, and then he went back to the woods again. When the king's son had eaten and rested a while, he continued on his way again. After a while he came to the same city and the same inn where there was always merriment and never sorrow, and he, too, thought it was a good place to stay, and the first one he met was his brother, and so he stayed there. His brother had feasted and drunk so much that he hardly had any clothes left on his back. But now they began all over again, and there was such dancing and drinking, and pleasure and fun that the second brother also forgot about the bird, and the feather, and his father, and the journey and the whole kingdom. Gone he was and gone he stayed, he too. When it was getting on for the time that the golden apple would be ripe again, the youngest prince was to go out in the garden and watch for the apple thief. He took with him a friend to help him up in the tree, and a keg of ale and a pack of cards to while away the time and keep them awake. All of a sudden there came a light that shone like a sun, so they could see every feather on the bird while it was still far away. The king's son started climbing up into the tree, and just as the bird snatched the golden apple, he tried to grab it, but all he got was one of its tail feathers. So he went into the chamber where the king lay sleeping, and when he came in with the feather, the room was as bright as the clearest day. So he, too, wanted to go forth into the wide world to try to find out something about his brothers and capture the bird, for he had been so near that he had left a mark on it and got a feather from its tail, he said. Well, the king pondered a long time as to whether he should let him go, for it wasn't likely that he, who was the youngest, would fare better than the two eldest, who were wiser in the ways of the world, and the king feared that he, too, would be lost. But the youngest son pleaded so earnestly that at last he was allowed to go. So he fitted himself out, and the king equipped him with clothing and money, and then he set off on his way.